Hi, my name is Katherine Grayson, and over the last year, I've been exploring the potential application of the co-op approach in inpatient youth mental health care settings. None of this would be possible without the wonderful cooperation of Megan McKim and Lindsay Davis from Nationwide Children's Hospital. So the co-op approach, if you've never heard of it, is a treatment in the world of occupational therapy based in learning and behavior used since the 1990s for the treatment of developmental coordination disorder and lots of other things. It uses Mickenbaum's goal, plan, do, check process, which we'll talk about in a second, and has been enabling clients to have more control over their treatment since its inception. So in the process of goal, plan, do, check, the client chooses 3 goals. They design their own plan for achieving each one of those goals. They practice their plan and check to make sure they've done their plan and whether or not their plan has worked. And the client and the therapist together use what's called dynamic performance analysis, where essentially they take a look at what pieces didn't work and how they might be able to improve those little pieces to make the overall performance functional, and return to the planning phase where the therapist acts more as a coach and less as the teacher. So one really exciting case study we saw was presented as part of Megan McKim's co-op training. This is not designed for publication, but we were able to get our hands on it, and it provided a really interesting picture of a participant who had suicidal ideation and gender dysphoria and was being treated for those things, but who had a goal of being able to shower without becoming emotionally distressed. And there were really exciting outcomes, which made us excited to pursue this further. So the purpose of our study was to provide some theoretical background for the application of the co-op approach to inpatient mental health treatment, to share the experiences of 2 occupational therapists working in this area right now, and to provide jumping off points for further research and development, which could include research that you do yourself. So in order to collect the information that we wanted, I sent a qualitative interview via email to these 2 occupational therapists. So co-op is relevant, particularly because even in studies where we weren't looking for markers of self-image and well-being, often that's what clients experience, is they end up coming away with a greater sense of self-efficacy, which is this feeling of being able to do the things that you want to be able to do. Also, in a study of people with traumatic brain injury, co-op was significantly effective in improving executive function, which is a very important area of treatment in mental health care, especially for youth. Additionally, treatment is almost always done in fewer than 10 sessions, which is really important for inpatient treatment and mental health care in general. So what we found is that these occupational therapists made very limited changes to co-op in order to implement it in their setting, which is huge. It means that this could be done and replicated easily in other hospitals across the country. One small change that was made is that generally families were not present for every single session, so we're trained over the phone during those sessions. Importantly, no difficulties, absolutely no difficulties were reported in documenting or billing for co-op services versus treatment as usual. That's huge in the United States if you're viewing from somewhere else. Therapists also reported positive experiences in 6 to 10 sessions, which is totally brief enough to implement in inpatient settings. Dynamic performance analysis was another feature they pointed out, provides flexible assessment for difficult to quantify goals, because not everything can be measured on a 1 to 10 scale. The most important thing they noted was selecting the appropriate clients, and selecting clients appropriately sets them up for success. So a client has to have motivation, they have to have the correct length of stay, their behavior has to be compatible with a one-to-one coaching experience, and importantly, they have to have the cognitive capacity for some really intense thinking and really intense learning experiences. It's a pretty taxing process for the client because it requires a lot of thinking about your own thinking. And so they do have to have the cognitive capacity and motivation to work through that. We also saw some differences in typical co-op goals, which we anticipated, which were motor related generally, like handwriting, bike riding, social interaction, where in inpatient mental health care, these are things that have to be able to be practiced in the unit. So self-care plans, sleep hygiene, pain management, social engagement, distress tolerance. Through this research, I was able to confirm that this is indeed an emerging use of the co-op approach. But we need your help expanding what we know. So we're going to go over 4 different ways that you can help expand what we know about the co-op approach, because we found that it's readily implementable, but very few people know it's happening. And of those people who know it's happening, they may not have the ability to practice it, research it, and you might have the skills required. So let's talk about that. So you can help by learning more about co-op, and that QR code right there can help you find links to explore further, but you can also search co-op approach on YouTube or visit icancoop.org. You can also get co-op certified. This is a really important thing that I want to share with you, which is that you are likely eligible for co-op certification, and it probably applies to your area of expertise. Teachers, behavior techs, paraprofessionals, OTs, PTs, doctors, talk therapists, social workers, all of these people are eligible for co-op certification. And students, undergraduate students, graduate students, all of the above are eligible for a significant discount on certification, and the intro course is free. That information can be found on ICANN Co-op, or you can scan that QR code there. And then what's really important is that you're participating in research. If you have even the slightest interest, the environment for co-op research is so supportive. And then share what you know. Even if you're not doing the research, very few people know co-op is being applied to mental health right now. It's amazing what just sharing a fun fact can do. So talk about it with your friends, with your coworkers. So thank you for being here, for being part of it, and for sticking through to the end. I'd really love to thank Megan McKim and Lindsay Davis, who shared their experiences and were so helpful. And for Dr. Mark Oderkirk, because honestly, he's been so supportive from the very beginning, even when we didn't know that we could get through this. And I really want to thank you for your time in sitting here and listening to what I have to say. So really appreciate it, and take a look at some of those other CSA Day presentations.